You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Originals After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Originals After Show.
There is a house in New Orleans. Although it's a girl. Yo, what up, AfterBuzzers? It's your boy DJ Jesse Janedy. We are here for the after show for The Originals. I almost said Vampire Diaries, but it's not that. It's The Originals.
Yeah, it is.
Season 1, Episode 4, Girl in New Orleans. New Orleans, whatever you
Down
want.
New Orleans.
However you want to say it.
Yes, I am joined by... I'm so happy that I have people who just love vampires so much that we can do this. Paige Sullivan.
Hi, everyone.
Roxy Striar.
Hello.
I can say that we are all happy with this episode, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I was so stoked on this episode, and we, of course, just did our episode of Vampire Diaries, and I was so excited about that one, too, that I feel like I forgot how excited I was, and I'm really amped to talk about this because it was an amazing episode, and every episode of this season has been amazing so far, and this one didn't let me down.
No.
Yeah, no, and this one actually hyped me up. The other ones didn't let me down, but this one hyped me up. I'm ready to see where the story is going to go.
Things are escalating fast, and more
You
is happening.
like it.
I do like it. I like it a lot.
Well, do we know, actually, if The Originals is going to get a full 20...
I think so. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but I'm almost positive.
Right,
you don't think they
are.
would try a 12-pilot
No,
season?
I don't think so.
No. I think after the success of the Vampire Diaries and also the success of the crossover
pilot,
episode.
right. When you do a backdoor pilot, I think you pretty much know. They knew a long time ago that they were picking up this as a season. I don't think there's any doubt that it was going to do well, and it is doing well. I don't think there's any doubt that they needed a full season.
And even as Vampire Diary fans, we were saying at first, The Originals, I was more into The Originals this season than I was Vampire Diaries. This week, it's a toss-up. I think Vampire Diaries might have won it out.
But it is still a toss-up.
Yeah, but The Originals, it came out strong. It came out swinging, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah. As far as The Originals, do you guys think that it's moving a little too fast, or you think we need that? Because right now, to me, the plot seems like Davina is the ultimate, well, they say she's the ultimate weapon. Is it almost like seeing Klaus meet her for the first time tonight and her figuring out Marcel? Like, I just feel like, oh my God, like if this is happening in the 4th episode, where the hell are we going to be in 22 episodes?
No. I feel like we hit the ground running in the best way possible. And although I am loving the way they're setting it up, and I do think we're going fast, and they keep talking about this war, we have not actually been to war yet. So, yes, this is our 4th episode, and we are talking about war, and we're setting up, but war is going to be the majority of the season. And we're not even there yet.
I feel like we are in war. I think Marcel maybe just doesn't really realize what kind of war it is right now.
It's like, what's that game called? Stratego?
Battleship?
Remember Stratego?
Stratego, I know.
Stratego, right?
No.
I don't remember what it was, though, but that sounds familiar.
Stratego, it's when all your pieces are facing you and the other opponent can't see
I feel
where
like
the
that's
bombs
that game
are
where
and
you have
stuff.
to pick the
No,
face.
it's like your
It's
battleship.
like who done it?
No,
It's a
Stratego. Who done it? Like
You know that game where the face is like
Guys,
she's wearing a hat.
Anyway.
Remembering the 90s here at the
Who done
Originals.
it? You're talking about, and you put
Oh,
down the hat,
whatever,
and you
yeah.
put down whatever?
Yeah, whatever.
Guess who?
Guess
who?
Same thing,
Thanks, Marissa. Running the booth.
But
All right.
it does feel like that because I feel like Klaus has this whole plan in motion and Marcel doesn't really know that's what's going on.
Although
he's so skeptical of Rebekah, though. Which is...
It's an ex-lover scorned.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard not to be skeptical.
because he was sired by Klaus, how can he really dislike Klaus or be skeptical?
True, that's actually true. All right, so we get the beginning. Rebekah, she goes to visit the vampire minions.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know who Marcel's other lover is. Now, I was confused in this moment.
I'm still
Do you
confused
think
about this moment.
she was looking to see, like, she can't believe that Marcel's really in love with Cami? Or do you think she was saying it to see if they could give her clues about Davina?
No, I think she knew what she was going in there for. I think she wanted to know where Davina was.
Okay.
Because she's already met Davina. She knows she exists, whereas the rest of them don't really know much about Davina.
I think so too, but I think that it would be very ignorant of her to think that any of them would know much about Davina. Why would Marcel have told them about Davina?
No, maybe not about Davina, but maybe if they've seen her occasionally,
of a
or
girl.
Or I've seen him walk into an apartment somewhere.
yeah, or that night he was
Obviously it was a
taking her,
church, but-
but he was taking her out in public that night, and he had told them about it, that he'd be there with a girl, and that they needed to watch the girl. So,
But it seemed like they had never met her before, and that she hadn't been out in public with them before.
no, so I don't think they know who she is. I think they just maybe knew about her
Okay.
randomly.
So
I don't
she
know.
didn't get anything from the vampires. I find it interesting that the vampires were interested in talking to Rebekah, but Marcel doesn't want to talk to Rebekah. Marcel wants to talk to Klaus, but these vampire minions don't
They
want to
hate
talk
Klaus.
to Klaus. So it's kind of interesting, the weaving of the originals and the characters within the city.
I absolutely agree, but a couple points. Number one, the vampires don't originally want to talk to. It's hard to use the word originally on the originals. The vampires don't initially want to talk to Rebekah. She convinces them to. And first of all, she's a pretty girl. And second of all, she offers them up something, which is that she'll help remove Klaus from the situation.
Right.
So they're more enticed to talk to her.
But she don't got to do it because they didn't help her out with shit.
And also, whatever that expression about a woman's scorn is, I'm sure that Marcel has caught on to that and sees Rebekah for the true deviant she is, you know? And the only downfall or the thing that might break him is that he's not seeing Klaus for who he is.
I think also the difference is Klaus has always had a very selfish way about him. He does things when he wants them done and how he wants them done. Whereas Rebekah, yes, she's selfish, but she cares about her family and she cares about other people and she's willing to love people and really develop friendships. And I'm sure they know that about her.
Why would that make Marcel less willing to speak to her than Klaus?
No. I think that's why the vampires are more willing to deal with Rebekah because they know she's kind of just a vampire. She's another pawn in the game. She maybe isn't Marcel's pawn, but she is Klaus's pawn. They're like equals.
They can, I feel like the vampires can sense mutiny in Klaus. Whereas with Rebekah, it's like, well, she's not on either team. Like, she's coming here and asking about Marcel, why she. Also, I thought it was interesting that they weren't as interested in why she asked about his love life.
I think it's
Or you
pretty
kind of
clear to
already
everybody that she's
crushes.
an ex-girlfriend and she's crushing pretty hard. Yeah.
So
It's
now,
so funny that all these people, like, we're going to talk about Davina, of course, but that they have love lives. Like, you know, I think of them as these creatures, and then really it comes down to who they want to be with. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
we get Rebekah visiting Father Kiernan at the church. And she's just kind of walking around, stepping on blood. Now, this massacre happened at the church, which I kind of wish they explained when the massacre
Because
happened.
why is there still blood?
Yeah.
Like, do you not clean up the blood?
The massacre, obviously, it was recently, considering we saw footage of her brother, whatever Cami's brother's name was, who did the massacre, and he looked to be around the age that Cami is now, and they're twins. So
I would say within a year or so. I wouldn't say
Wait,
it just
I
happened.
would
Yeah,
say
wait,
within
you
the
thought
past-
they looked similar? I felt like he looked young.
I thought he looked young as
I
well.
was going to say, it seemed that it happened, I wasn't going to say in the past year, I was going to say in the past decade is where I was going with that. You know, the way they told the story, it seemed like this long time ago, but we know that she's not a vampire, so we know that she can age, which means that it had to have happened when he was the same age, and I thought that he looked...
But it doesn't make sense that there's no one cleaned up, the church isn't up and running, or that there's still guts on the floor.
I feel like it was within the last 2-ish years. I feel like
Okay.
it's still so fresh for her that I feel like had more time gone by, she wouldn't just be coming there now, and she wouldn't just be,
Is she
trying to
just coming there? I know that she's
Well,
in
didn't
New
we
Orleans.
see her as wasn't she new when Klaus found her on the street? Didn't she say something about being This is a while ago. This is when it aired, you know.
I know when they're
Yeah.
looking at the painting. I know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna have to go back and watch and see.
But she even
if
says
said
this
she
is
was
why
new.
I came here. I feel like maybe I just feel like she's new because we're all new to New Orleans. But
Right, maybe she would know Marcel better if she had
exactly.
been there longer.
Yeah, I feel like Marcel would have already had her in his, you know, in his
Yeah.
grasp. I don't know. I think it's fairly recent.
Well, and so the father talks about the massacre, 9 students, and the way he describes it, 9 students were killed by this one guy.
Who then killed himself.
Who was a priest,
Well, he's training to be.
yeah.
They were
Right.
all. Yeah.
so he must have been old enough to do that.
Yeah, or was it a priest, or was they
yeah,
kind
he
of look
went
like
there to be
altar
a-
boys?
No,
No,
yeah,
he said
but
they called
they-
him a priest. They said he was training to be a priest.
yeah, I forget what it's called, but yeah, he was. They were on their way to becoming
studying.
priests, to be ordained. They were studying to be ordained.
So Rebekah goes upstairs. She finds
Well, first she compels him
Compels
what
him,
she
yes.
thinks she compels him.
yes. Oh, they were perfect. Which we get a lot. Which we almost thought on Vampire Diaries was going to happen
I
tonight.
thought she did compel him. I didn't
did
think
too.
that she. I don't know.
No, I felt like I could see it in his face that he wasn't
Well,
compelled.
and that's the thing, because usually on Vampire Diaries, it's kind of like
Like zooming on the eyes.
my
and
brain is going crazy right now thinking about vampires. Usually when they zoom in on the eyes, and they showed his face, and his eyes didn't move, but he was so good.
But he
at
told
just-
her where the attic was.
And he didn't react. Like, he didn't do anything. He
Yeah.
didn't say, you can't go up there, or don't do that, or anything like that. So I
They
feel
probably
like.
knew he would die.
Yeah, he's probably like, I shouldn't screw with this girl. She's crazy.
Well, also, I think that he wanted to have her think that she was compelling him so that he could go and keep doing things.
but
like
he also
this.
doesn't know what's upstairs. I don't think he knows. Does he know about Davina
Well,
and everything?
when he goes to Klaus, when he goes to Marcel later in the episode, he's like, so you've been having fun in my attic. I know what you've been doing up there. I don't know if he knows to what extent,
Right.
but I know that he knows that something's going
Do
on.
we think maybe prior to having Vervain in the system and all of that, that Marcel compelled him not to go upstairs and not
Yep.
to ask questions about that?
Probably.
Maybe, or maybe he owes Marcel something. There's obviously history there that we're not familiar with.
Right, he
Yeah.
clearly has loyalty, because then afterwards, while Rebecca, it's so weird, and I want to know how this even happens. That Rebecca goes into the room, or right before she's about to enter the room.
Oh, bizarre.
Flashback, but it's not really a flashback, but it's kind of a flashback.
Yeah,
and
I
it's-
didn't understand what was happening.
But luckily she said, "Holy crap, where am I?" or something like that, which made me know that
Yeah, but
she
how
was
does Elijah
current
have
day
that
Rebecca.
power?
I don't know how he has
we've
that power.
never
We've
seen
never
a
seen
vampire
that.
with that kind of.
Maybe it's
power.
only when you're like being stabbed and you're coming back to life.
But he's never. I mean, how many years has he been down before they pulled the
Yeah.
stake out?
like, neither of them have ever been able to do that.
Maybe it was
before.
something about the room.
Or
Maybe,
Davina,
because
or Davina.
at the end when he appeared to her, I thought that was he still appeared to her dead.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. So we get the flashback.
Is that what that was? I just thought he was pale because he was coming
No,
back.
He
he
was
was
not
coming.
pale.
No,
He
I think
was,
he was
like,
coming back.
Grayish color.
But
Right.
I think he was coming back from being dead.
Right, he was
Okay.
Because
reviving.
she took it out of him.
He said in a
so-
few hours I'll be all right.
There we go.
Yeah.
So the flashback, they're at the opera house. Elijah says, "I want to stay asleep so I can communicate with Davina," and he wants Rebekah to look over Hayley. This Hayley thing is crazy to
It's
me.
kind of creepy how much Elijah's like
Yeah,
protect
and then
her.
also
no,
when
I think it's really endearing.
it is endearing until then we get, first of all, your brother has a child in her, and then I also think it's interesting that Hayley keeps. You heard from Elijah. You keep hearing from Elijah.
That's weird to me.
I don't.
He wants to protect
know.
Hayley because Hayley's got the baby, but how much she wants to know about Elijah, she's obviously interested.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I don't think Hayley and Klaus isn't happening.
And nor does Hayley want it to.
No, so
Nor
we
does
know that's
Klaus.
not happening. So I guess it's not creepy, and I understand why Elijah's in it and why he really wants to protect this child. But she is very. I think it's just the first person in her life who said, "I'm going to protect you, and I'm here for you."
Imagine if your uncle was also your stepdad.
Ew, no. It's like this is
You
Uncle
know?
So and So. Isn't that what they always say? It's
Yeah,
like when
it's
somebody's
weird.
cheating, it's like this is Uncle Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncle Elijah.
Well, this family's already messed up enough.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think Klaus could care less though if
No.
Elijah and Hayley got together. Klaus would be like, "Go for it, whatever."
Yeah, probably.
I mean-
Actually,
And then we have another.
Except
or
the
unless we have
child.
another three-way love
Klaus is
triangle.
I was
going to
gonna
be-
say we'll have a love triangle.
Klaus is going to be very protective over this child.
Oh
definitely.
yeah. Oh
It's-
yeah.
And that could probably cause a tear between him and Elijah.
Mhm.
Okay, so then Father Kiernan goes and tells Marcel that Rebekah's been snooping around. Marcel goes to talk to Davina. She says, "I want to go to this festival."
Woo.
and I want to go now. And Marcel's trying to do his little mind games on her, and then she starts boiling his blood, which that was a cool.
Well, this is before that things happen. You know, he came and told that Rebekah was snooping around after.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
right, she did want to go to the festival, and it was really interesting. Her smile, you know, she didn't get angry with them, but she did the blood boiling thing, and she's like, you know, I can do this kind of.
Very manipulative. It's
Right.
like conniving. She's like, so.
But
She's-
it's the
and
same
she's
thing he was
adorable.
doing to her, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you can't go out. You don't know what the witches will do to you.
Because they have this
and-
friendship, but it's weird that he said that. This is the first time that we specifically hear him say, you don't know what the witches are going to do. Like, they'll eat you alive, basically. And I knew she was on the witches were on her bad side, but I didn't know she was on the witches' bad side.
Here's the
Who
thing.
knows?
Is there a legitimate reason they're enemies other than the power that she has? Because as far as we learned in this episode, a couple months ago, she was just a little girl in school, and then something happened, and then she was ripped out. So where are her parents? Did Marcel just jump in and take control of Davina when he found out about her power? Were the witches really against her, or did they want to take her and, you know,
Is she like the chosen child of the coven? You
like
know,
who is she? What is
of the
she?
cauldron?
You know,
Yeah.
I would love to know more about who Davina
I think
was.
we're gonna get that.
That's why I
next
don't think
couple
we're going
episodes.
too fast. That's the original question you asked us, and there's still so much to know that I don't feel like we're going too fast.
Oh, they'll wrap that up in one flashback episode.
No, I think they'll drag that out. We just got a little taste about the witches not liking her, and we're going to get a little more as she comes out, and as she's trying to choose between Klaus and Marcel. It's going to come out slowly, I think.
I don't know.
So they go to the festival. Well, Marcel basically talks to Cami and says, I want you to go to the festival. Cami kind of tells Klaus, which to me, watching this, it always amazes me in that I haven't even figured it out because Klaus does this and did it in Vampire Diaries. They give you little things, clues of like Cami saying to Klaus, hey, you know, Marcel wants me to take this girl. The whole plot that Klaus had during this entire episode, it just amazes me with him how conniving he is and always thinking 5 steps ahead of everybody.
Why do we like him so much? Because I really, really do.
Because he was essentially the underdog at one point. You know, he was this beast, and he was so ashamed of who he was, and his father made him feel like that, and he felt like his own family abandoned him, and now he's risen to the top. And so it's kind of like he's like a hero in a sense, but he's just a bad guy.
I'm just always rooting for him.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
Even when what he wants is so horribly wrong, I'm rooting for him.
I think right now, though, there's nothing wrong with rooting for him because Marcel's not really a great guy, and he kind of took advantage of what Klaus gave him.
Right, but what Klaus keeps saying is he's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He happens to be getting Elijah back while gaining power. However, clearly his priority list goes 1 and 2, power and then family, you know? So right now it's not bad, but that could flip so quickly.
While it does seem power family to me, his family's always just in a box, and he keeps them there until he gets his power, and then he brings them there to live with him and to celebrate it with him and to be a part of it with him. So yeah, while he's daggering them and sticking them in a box for 50 to 100 years, he's working towards a goal. He doesn't kill them. He doesn't abandon them. He doesn't leave them there.
Couldn't kill him if he wanted to.
Right, but, you know, he has, you know, he could just leave them there forever. He doesn't have to let them out.
No, but I think there's a thing inside of him where he does that because he wants to be on top. Because Elijah could easily probably create a plan as to how they're going to get the kingdom back. But
right,
he wants to be the one to do it. He wants that power and control.
But he also sees family as a weakness.
Yep.
It's
or love as a
interesting.
weakness.
Speaking of being able to leave somebody there, it's interesting that we learned tonight that once you're daggered with something and you're undaggered and redaggered, that dagger doesn't work. Because, you know, she undaggered him and redaggered him, and that dagger lost its powers.
I think you need to let him come back
Yeah,
before
before you
you
can
redagger
dagger
Oh, that's
him.
what it was. It wasn't the dagger losing its powers.
No,
No, because we've seen Rebekah has been
daggered multiple
Yeah.
times. They all have. I think what it is he was daggered, and then she took it out, which gives him the chance to come back and be a human, and then she daggered him again. So I think you have to let them be a person first.
I think that might come back later on.
I think we'll learn about it. I don't know.
Right.
And going to kind of what you said about Klaus looking at his family as a weakness, he is always thinking one step ahead because even when he said to Davina tonight, no, you have to let go of Tim right now, because if the witches find out, they'll use that against you.
And that's
Right.
the thing. And like when he was at his weakest point, his most vulnerable point, it was because of his family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think love and everything like that, he sees it as tearing them apart.
And like you're saying, we see that family is a weakness. We also see with other characters that love is a weakness, which is where it could be really interesting if Caroline does make the switch over to the show and seeing Klaus have a weakness with love. I mean, I know we're seeing some sparks between him and Cami, but Cami's not close enough yet that she's a weakness for him. Caroline really could be, potentially.
I can't see where Caroline could ever really fit in this show.
I think
Oh my
we
God,
want
right?
it. I think we want it because we were very close to it. I don't think it's happening. And I don't know. I see Cami being the one that he cares about. But I think it'll be a while before we see him get to that point, because we've seen with everything he does to Rebekah, every time she falls in love, he kills the person because he knows this is just going to destroy you later. And that is so deeply ingrained in his brain.
And I don't see
No.
Cami ever becoming a vampire.
No. And she's really strong-willed, I feel like. If she wasn't being compelled right now, I think her actions would be very different.
You can reverse, once you become a vampire, though, you remember, the only reason I could see her becoming a vampire is because once you become a vampire, you remember what people compelled you, you remember what they said to you. So I do see her eventually becoming a vampire, remembering how Klaus compelled her, and then remembering about her brother.
I have that one idea, or I also have her and her brother being twins, and then also talking tonight about the demons. What if he was fighting demons, and maybe there's something else, something that we haven't seen yet?
What is this demon thing? Because if a demon is not a witch, a traveler, a hybrid, a werewolf, or a vampire,
I mean, it could be,
then
they could create whatever.
yeah, then what is a demon?
I have girl Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they had one every week, a whole new one.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's, they could create anything. It could be demon priests. They could be called, like, I don't even know.
Right.
Something.
I'm just
And
wondering.
we don't even know if it is a demon. We
Right.
maybe
He might be a
was,
bad guy. He
or-
could have been crazy.
Or maybe he was compelled by somebody like Marcel, who was
Yep.
like, I need you to kill all of these people for me. And he just went ahead and did it.
It was interesting that part of Klaus's.
Woo! I want to just go off that real quick.
Oh,
that
go,
was a
go.
good one.
Go.
Because, but why is Marcel so
Infatuated.
infatuated? Great word. With Cami, what is it that he says? The innocence. There's something about her. Is it because maybe he does feel guilty about something, or that he
That is
feels
true. I didn't think about
tied to
that.
her? Because everyone
Potentially.
he feels tied to. Think about all the loves. Rebekah, he feels tied to. Even Davina, even though it's a friendship, there's something that we're gonna find out that Marcel did to tie him to this girl. That's
I absolutely
interesting,
agree,
right?
and that would also help the cause of Klaus wanting to take down Marcel, because Klaus promised Cami that once he found out who did this to her brother, he would take that person down, which would just give him more incentive. My question to you guys is, tonight, Marcel says, I've already found my queen. Is he talking about Cami?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's weird. Like, even when you see them interact with each other, it just doesn't even give that off. Like,
Right.
he seems
Right.
stalkerish. And then, okay, so we look at Marcel as the bad guy, but at the same point, there's something about Marcel that I don't want him to die.
Oh, no,
I
and he
don't know.
won't.
I kind
not
of
gonna
want
die.
to see him and Rebekah blossom.
See, I don't even see chemistry there anymore. Like, when I watch it, I know it's supposed to look like exes who still have feelings. I feel like she's just playing it up, trying to get what she wants. I think she's over it.
Really?
I think the reason you might
Well,
think
we're
that.
still gonna find out what happened with them. Too,
Yeah.
because we don't really.
The reason you might think that, and I'm struggling with this as well, is we've seen Rebekah with so many guys, and we've seen her fall for so many guys. So it's like, oh, another one, another one, another one. We don't really put all of our heart into it because we know we're gonna have to move on.
Right.
So I feel like that's what's happening, as opposed to Klaus, and we're kind of feeling him with Cami because the only other person we've ever seen him like be this much into is Caroline. We don't really see all the time him falling and falling and falling. So it's almost like the girl who cried wolf. I don't really believe her that she loves him because I've seen her fall in love with Matt 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I'm still rooting for Matt.
Yeah.
And also, Marcel chose to be a vampire over saving Caroline. Not Caroline, Rebekah.
Rebekah.
So I'm going to do it
Not
again,
again,
people.
baby.
No. So I feel like that's where she has that resentment. She's, an ex-scorned. She's definitely scorned. But I still don't feel it. I just don't feel it there. And the fact that she does hop from boy to boy to boy, and even before Marcel, she was hopping from boy to boy to boy, I think deep down she knows that she can't have that one true love like a normal person.
So do you
can.
see Marcel being a cast on the show, or do
Yeah,
you
I see him
dying?
on the show, but I don't see him with Rebekah.
Okay.
And I definitely see the power being switched. I see him being under Klaus, and I think there'll always be a power struggle there. But or maybe not. Maybe he'll just be put in his place and he'll be a sad puppy in the corner. I don't know, but I don't see him leaving the show.
Other than the originals, Marcel is the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now when we talk about being at war, the way Klaus lays it out, we're vampires versus witches, but it's also
vampires versus vampires.
It's also Klaus versus Marcel. And
the originals.
But when it stops
Right.
being Klaus versus Marcel, I feel like it has to be vampires versus something. Because at one point, when we go back to who Klaus was originally, it was the vampires and the Vampire Diaries versus Klaus. And then they kind of joined forces. In a way, they still hated each other, but they joined forces for a bigger cause, which is what I think we're going to be getting to.
Klaus-
Whether it's the witches or not, it's going to be vampires versus something.
Klaus will always find an enemy, or an enemy will always be found in Klaus. Because the problem is, he either will be the second in power or lower than that, and then he's always trying to rise to the top, or somebody else is trying to knock him at the top.
Well, now it's going to be this baby. The witches do not want this child coming into.
And the vampire
The
doesn't
world.
want werewolves. And Marcel still doesn't know that
And the
they
baby's a
have
hybrid.
Hayley.
Right.
They know there was a werewolf. They don't know it's Hayley.
Right.
And they don't know she's pregnant.
Right.
Woo, too much tea.
Crazy.
All right, so Davina gets to the festival. She's with Cami. We find out that she has a crush on Timmy.
Oh,
So
poor little
cute.
Tim. He was so cute.
Even poor Davina, I feel like she was ripped out of her childhood and locked away in an attic.
I did learn a lot about her tonight just by hearing her speak more
you
and
guys
watching her
watched Buffy.
smile. She just honestly,
She's Drusilla from Buffy.
Oh, well, we'll have to go back and watch Buffy.
absolutely. She's got this cute, endearing smile, and like she said, she got pulled out of high school, and one day she had to leave, and we don't know what happened yet. But first of all, bummer. I feel bad for her, and second of all, you can tell she's not malicious, and she clearly doesn't even have full control over her
She's
powers
confused.
yet. Yeah.
And even when she was, killing the vampires that one time when there was magic happening and she was trying to save Marcel, she was doing it for Marcel. She wasn't doing it with ill intent, and she wasn't doing anything wrong. And even when she has Elijah and she's looking for a way to kill the originals, she's doing it because Marcel's told her that they're bad people and that they do bad things and that they hurt people. So she seems like a genuine, innocent little girl.
She doesn't seem power hungry.
She seems impressionable, though, and not what Marcel is saying. And even Klaus, now this episode, leaves a lasting effect on her
Right.
and her actions.
Klaus, we find out, had given Cami a note to give to Davina, which basically creates this whole plot where Davina ends up going to the church with Timmy and meeting Timmy there, and we see that whole back and forth. He plays the violin for
so
her.
cute.
That was just a great moment because we've only known Davina to be this creepy little girl that sits in this attic, and lays in her bed all the
and drawing
time.
with
Don't
black
you,
everywhere.
don't you wonder how
with
much
with a coffin in her bedroom, this
I
little
know.
girl.
Don't you guys wonder though how much Klaus compelled Tim? I wonder whether he was like, "You're into her," or whether he just was like, "Go there." To what extent was Tim compelled?
I bought that whole they were really feeling each other.
Yeah.
I
I did
bought it
too.
too. I'm just wondering because when we hear him in the other room, Klaus says, "Wow, the kid's really talented. No amount of compulsion could make somebody play like that." And it made me feel like he had compelled a lot.
I don't know. I think there was a genuine connection between the
Yeah.
two. I think that
I hope
they didn't
so.
fake that. I think he said, go to the church, talk to Davina, hang out with Davina. I think that's probably what he said. He may have
Because
compelled
the
him.
kid was interested, like you were here, like when then you left, so are you gonna come back? And there was
Yeah,
some
that's true.
excitement
And Klaus
there.
doesn't know any of the storyline, so it's
Right.
not like he could compel him to say certain things
Right.
or act a certain
Good
way.
point.
And
Good
I
point.
think that is something that's very important to the plot for her to have that we see that kind of weakness. It's why we know like she is confused. Like there is a heart in this girl, and
Also, it was insane that she had this big moment and all the glass bursts out. She passes out. So, it's too much power for her to control. And we don't know how long she's out, but it's definitely long enough for Klaus to make it upstairs, be on the phone, and be with Tim.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then within that moment, not really within that moment. I mean, she freaks out. She bugs out. She's trying to show Klaus that she has the power. He takes Timmy and kind of lets her know, like, I'm your only hope. I will kill this boy here. And So we're seeing Davina raw. Like, we see that she clearly isn't smart enough or has control over her powers, because she could have just as easily, when she whisked everyone off and against the wall, she could have done that right then and there. She could still boil his blood, because the headache thing would just make him back away from it. But she's a little girl. She's scared. Timmy was scared. I don't really ever see Klaus have hurting him within that moment.
No, I think she's just not a strategic thinker. You know, she doesn't have a plan. She's been being told what to do, and she doesn't really know how to control her powers. So I feel like in that moment, Davina, we just saw Davina, a scared little girl.
Yeah, I mean, they have 1,000 years on her.
Did you see an enlightenment in her face at all when he talked about the alliance?
A little bit.
Like,
I think it made her question.
Marcel?
Yeah, I feel like it made her question things, because when you're told something for so long, because I feel like it happens to people when you go off to college. You know, you had this life and your parents told you these things, and then you meet people from all different walks of life, and you're like, whoa, there's a whole world out there that I don't know about.
Absolutely.
And all she has is an attic and Marcel.
Right.
Now, I want another question, because you mentioned the attic. Do we think that there is something about this building that is either haunted or that keeps causing these events? Or do we think that they're only in this building because it's vacant right now?
It could be either.
Yeah. I mean, I could see there being a plot there. Like, what was the massacre? Was it a ritual? Was there...
Like, did it bring some sort of power to that building, and Davina draws from that power?
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
don't know.
there's something intriguing about the
Right.
building.
I mean, before
I also
we
thought it was interesting. Sorry to cut you off. I also thought it was interesting that when she went in, because it was interesting that you said earlier, Father Keenan didn't know of her, but then when he said, "Why did you want to meet here?" She said, "It's just I like it. It's quiet."
Yeah.
So it almost makes me believe that she is allowed to go from the attic to down below.
Or it was a place she visited prior.
That she felt like
right. I mean, I remember a couple of weeks ago we thought that maybe she was drawing powers from this building, and that's why she was inside it. Now we know the direct quote from Marcel was, "You know what the witches will do to you if they find you." So
she's hiding.
I don't know whether he's hiding her there specifically, or he's just hiding her there because he knows nobody else will go because of the accident.
Probably, actually, the witches. It probably is something that the witches won't
can't go
there,
to. Right.
Like, that's maybe what the ritual was. It was some kind of spell that kept them all away.
Right.
Because they also only they can only do magic when they're drawing from their ancestors.
And I wonder if she drew power off of, because she's so
The
young,
deaths.
off of the deaths of these boys.
Right.
Interesting. And, all right, so to counteract that, we get this conversation between Cami and Klaus talking about the massacre. What did you guys think of that moment?
That shocked me. I did not see that coming.
Me
Well, first
either.
off, we didn't know about the massacre till this episode, but
So it would have been hard to predict.
so it was hard to predict. But I didn't see her playing this big of a role.
Being so involved
Yeah,
in,
I
like,
didn't.
I didn't either.
I was wondering how she was going to be involved. I definitely didn't predict this, but I knew that somehow, somewhere, she had to be connected.
So do you see, like, okay, so for me, what I'm getting from this is I don't know if I want her to be just a regular girl like a Matt, or if there's something that she doesn't even know, and why Marcel wants her to be his queen so bad. The twin thing, like, I kind of am interested to
I
see
think
if
there's
there's
more.
going to be more there.
I don't think she'll just be a regular girl. And even come to think of it, Matt wasn't just a regular guy. I mean, his sister Vicky was involved, and he's always been a part of it. I think she has a lot more to do with it than we know. Maybe she has ties to something, magical or something like that. I don't really know where she stands, but I think there's underlying things there. A family history, something that tied her brother to it and now ties her to it.
Especially because of the demons comment and her questioning whether she'll have those same demons.
And also, he showed no signs of psychotic behavior. What did you think as far as
No drugs, no alcohol.
when Klaus compelled her and she was like, "Please don't do it"?
Oh, my
that was
heart
such a
melted
hard
for her.
moment.
It's hard, but at the same time, I see why he did it.
Yeah.
Me
I
too.
think if you don't want to let go of that memory, you don't want to let go of that fight to fight for your loved one, but at the same time, giving her that sense of peace, that's something she could never achieve on her own.
Right. I mean, if that ever were to happen to Klaus and he found out, he would be furious. But ignorance is bliss. We all know that. And being able to provide somebody else with that satisfaction and just that that letting go feeling and that ease and not having nightmares and not always chasing something. To be able to do that for somebody else is an amazing thing. But at the same time, you would feel so wronged if you had that done to you. So there's got to be something wrong about it.
I think it's wrong because she doesn't have control over it. Right. I think that's where it is. She has absolutely no control over her own thoughts and emotions and feelings. But if she had the opportunity, if she thought her brother was suffering from demons and she could have taken that away from him, she would have. Just as these are the demons she's dealing with now. She's dealing with her brother. He is her demon, I think. He's the one who's bringing her to New Orleans. He's the one who's bringing her to the vampires. He's the reason she's there.
And she's going to find out a whole lot about her twin that she felt so close to.
If she doesn't let it go, she could suffer the same fate.
Okay, so we saw that scene with Klaus and Cami. Now, at the beginning, we got a conversation between the two where she's kind of reading him, telling him, you know, you need to talk to, like, a site.
And he's like, I'd rather talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he offers a job for her to write his memoirs.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. I feel like he needs memoirs. I feel like when you're around that long, I mean, even if nobody believes it's real, it would be a good story. I'd read it.
I felt like that was kind of a cover for her to be around him a lot.
Okay.
I agree. I don't think it's a real thing, but I think...
Around him a lot because he's intrigued by her or because he wants to
control
her from Marcel?
Both.
The Marcel situation.
I think he's intrigued. I think he needs to control her. I don't think he wants to control her. I think he needs to because he shows a genuine interest and care for her. If he didn't care about her, I don't think he would have taken that memory of the brother away or that fight to find out what was wrong. I don't think he'd care. He'd let her suffer with the nightmares and with the pain.
Because he felt like with her suffering, she couldn't do the job with Marcel.
I don't know. I still think she could have because he's compelling her to do what she's doing with Marcel.
And ideally, she said in that moment, which is why I thought he wasn't going to, she said, I will do anything. I will work with you and do anything to find out what really happened. So, I mean, technically but you know what? But in Klaus's mind, he's like, probably like, I've been alive for thousands of years and your little dumb blonde ass ain't going to keep this secret with Marcel. You're going to mess it up somehow. So we'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Right. And I think he always knows he could switch that. Yeah.
I don't think he has ill intentions with Cami. I think, yes, he's using her to his advantage like he does with everybody. But I think he genuinely has a soft spot for her. I don't think it's all ill will.
What about Josh with this daylight ring and him wanting to be in the inner circle? Is that all? He's part of Klaus's bandwagon?
Yeah.
He's on Klaus's bandwagon. I don't know why he asked of that so early because I feel like that's something that if Klaus wanted to, he could get him.
But Klaus
I know he has to play the part.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting that he brought that up in conversation.
I think, that guy with the afro, had his neck basically snapped, and the other guy's in the garden. So it's a good question to ask. People are dropping like flies. I'm here. I think as a new vampire and a new Marcel member of that club,
it's probably a normal.
It's a normal question to ask. I feel like first coming in, you don't just automatically have that loyalty and that sense of being a part of this group, and he wants to be a part of that group. I think other people would ask to be a part of that group.
Right. It seems like a lot of people are in line before him, though.
I agree, but I don't think it's weird he asked.
Yeah. Okay. So going back, Klaus wants this favor from Davina, and then he disappears. Marcel shows up, and we kind of get this little friction between Marcel and Davina in the sense of, why am I here? Why am I being trapped?
My favorite was, he's like, what are you doing down here? She's like, I live here, remember?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, you tell him, okay.
I mean, we've seen her give him tood before, but in like a I'm 16 and smiling way. This was like, I know what's going on.
Yeah, I've realized some stuff.
What's up?
Yeah.
What's up?
I also want to point out, I'm glad that Klaus, we saw him kill Timmy, but let Timmy live.
Yeah.
And let him go on. I'm very happy about that, and I think that really gained Davina's trust.
Oh, but he did that on purpose to manipulate her.
Well, she thought she killed him.
Yeah.
So, but I did like that. I thought that was a nice little twist in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Really, he pushed him off the balcony, but she thought that she had done that with her anger.
And that really is pulling her away from Marcel because she just almost killed somebody she really cared about who Marcel doesn't even want her with. So.
Mm-hmm. And I thought it was interesting at the end of it, we saw Elijah starting a conversation with Davina, and she was a little shocked at first, but she looked very intrigued. Do
you think Elijah's going to, tell his side of the story and give his information to her?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think that
Because Elijah's very honest.
yeah, he is honest, but I feel like he does know when to keep his mouth shut about some things. I think the thing that Davina's most interested in that Klaus offered her was, he said, you could walk around and I can protect you.
Yep.
So her being able to not be locked up in that room, of course she's going to listen to anybody who says that they can do that. You know, she's going to listen to what they have to say, and I'm sure that Elijah will confirm that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about Elijah, she obviously doesn't know Elijah very well, but we know that he doesn't go back on his word.
Right.
What he says, he does. And I think you can read that when you meet him. Everybody
does give
seems
that
to
off,
be
yeah.
able to read that when they meet Elijah. So I see them kind of hitting it off. And if Klaus didn't put enough of a seed in her head that, you know, there's a doubt with Marcel, Elijah's going to push her over the edge.
Okay.
And that's where I see it happening. I see Elijah kind of controlling Davina from being inside the room, and Marcel's still
And
thinking
Marcel has no
he's-
idea that Elijah's...
Yeah, that's very possible. We always give Elijah so much credit, though, and this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. You're saying,
But
we
he's
can-
never shown improved, actually.
He's never what?
We do give him
We
credit,
give him a
but
lot
he's
of
never
credit.
shown improved.
Remember when he, on Vampire Diaries, Elijah and Elena, one of the girls on the show, they made a deal, and he was like, I never go back on my word. And then, in order to help his family, he had to go back on his word and help Klaus.
Yep.
And he lied to Elena. And so we have seen him break his word.
But that killed him, though.
Right.
That bothered him. Internally.
I know it did. I'm just saying it is possible. You know, none of them are perfect.
And I
Right.
think at this point, though, he's past that. I think he's in a place where he knows what the hell his brother's doing and his sister's kind of in a place like, you know what? At the end of the day, if I have to save Klaus or Elijah, I'm going to save Elijah because Klaus hasn't... Like, I think Rebekah and Klaus's family history is so awesome to watch, on camera, to see them kind of go back and forth, and she hates him. But
But
she's
even the way he
still-
talks to her, baby sister,
Yep.
little sister, he sees her still as his little sister.
It's like girl's 1,000 years old. She's
Yeah.
not little anything.
And,
Like,
and she's never, you get that moment when you're growing up as a girl where you break away and you're like, I can do this. I got it. I don't need you protecting me. She doesn't get that. And
No.
she's never going to get that.
Yep, because she keeps falling. It's like when we go back home, you go back home, you go in your room and
Yeah.
your bedroom, and you're just kind of like, oh, I feel like I'm a little kid again.
Yeah.
But she's always constantly reminded by Klaus.
And the second she tries to break away, he rips her back in.
But I think it's interesting. Now she's kind of been given these tasks where she's kind of having to branch off and figure this whole thing out on her own. And so I think it's interesting with the whole Hayley
I
situation.
love that.
I do too. I like their friendship.
I love that they're best friends off of the show. And so I like
Right,
that you
you
can
said-
read that
Mhm.
on screen and you can really see that they care.
Right, and I love that she's not. Rebekah's typically jealous of other women. I love that she's not jealous. That she's really trying to be an amazing friend to her.
And it would be very strange to be jealous of your brother's lover.
Yeah.
Your brother's baby mama.
Or that
It's
your
like,
nephew or niece is inside of
Right.
this girl.
but no, I agree. I feel like she doesn't take well. And even when she said something, when at the end of the episode, when she comes back without Hayley, she goes, well, do you see a smart-mouthed werewolf running around? So she still sees her as this annoying girl.
Right.
But she cares about her, and she cares.
She trusts
enough.
her ever since, I think it was that moment on the porch. I keep going back to it because it was probably one of my favorite scenes from this
With the
show.
dagger.
When she gave her the daggers, and you saw that Rebekah was really like taken aback by that, and kind of like, this girl has offered me a white flag and I'm going to take it.
Because
But
she's
she
not
doesn't
used to
have
that.
with anyone.
Yeah.
She had it with Elena, and then Elena backstabbed her. And I
Oh,
think,
Elena really backstabbed her.
literally.
Well, after Rebekah
Literally.
backstabbed Elena, though, they went back and forth.
Right.
This was a fresh start for Rebekah, and I think that even though she keeps being like, I'm getting out of New Orleans, I think she's one day going to wake up and realize, do I like it here? Oh my God, holy crap. I have a friend here. I have a love interest here. Like, maybe this place isn't so bad.
finally has a life. She's not running.
Right.
So Hayley is with one of the witches, Agnes, and she tells her, you need to go see a doctor, and she sets this situation up for her to go see the Bayou baby doctor.
Dr. Page.
Yes.
Well, we understood last episode that there was something weird about her baby. I guess they might have just found out that it's a hybrid. I mean, they must have just found out that it's a vampire werewolf.
Right. And I have a theory that when we were talking about, it was in a different language, and then she said that it was a girl, but there was another little thing that Agnes did, and she figures out that it's in a different language. And we see Hayley's searching, what language? I think that maybe it's Traveler. because we see on Vampire Diaries this new traveler speak, and so maybe we're gonna cross over there and we're gonna see some gypsies and the language
Which
overlap.
gypsies in New Orleans and all that voodoo, I can
Right.
see that coming.
Definitely voodoo. I don't know what I feel like there's something more about this baby than what
It's
we know.
not just gonna be a
It's
hybrid.
not just a hybrid.
Absolutely. That's whatever the language was, whatever she was saying, it was saying something.
And it's enough to make them go back on their word of protecting her
Mm-hmm.
and to basically massacre her. They bring her out into the middle of the woods under the impression she's going to a doctor just to kill her.
Do you think they were trying to kill her? I don't think that's what they were trying to do.
I think they were trying to kill her.
Yeah, I think they were trying to either kill her or make sure that whatever's inside of her is dead.
Maybe that's it.
But I mean, how do you do that and not kill her?
Or kidnap her, I suppose.
And then do what though?
Maybe
I mean,
a
a spell.
spell.
Yeah. I thought they were going to kill her.
It
I
looked-
never thought anything else.
Yeah.
Well, they were shooting arrows, so that's a valid
They were
statement.
shooting arrows, and they wanted to knock her out and obviously do something because
They were
that's what
going
the
to
needle
inject
was for.
her. Yeah.
But I think it's more than she's just a werewolf and they don't like werewolves. It's about killing the baby.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They don't. I don't think they care at all that she's a werewolf.
Okay.
Period. Then we see Rebekah, badass in the woods, beating these guys up.
Until she gets shot.
Yeah.
Pretty-
And then
pretty
Rebekah
hard.
came, helped her, saved her, and then she got shot, and now she's missing.
But something serious went down in those woods because when Rebekah wakes up, everybody's dead. Like,
But-
everybody's dead around her, and she has no idea what happened.
Right.
And she's like, who did this?
And what's interesting about that with werewolves is, when the werewolf first starts turning, they
black
usually
out.
black out when they're in their werewolf mind, and then when they're back human, they don't really remember what they did.
But Hayley's
But
past that.
she's past it, but what happened?
I don't think she did it. I think something else did it. I think maybe other werewolves are protecting her. Like, maybe they knew, they can sense each other. Because
That one wolf.
'Cause
keeps
otherwise
coming.
Hayley
that
would've
one
been
wolf,
there.
because that one wolf keeps following her. And Hayley also, I don't know if she could turn being pregnant. I'm sure she could. Also, could she have taken on all of those people? Because they still had arrows, and just because she's a werewolf doesn't
Right.
mean she's invincible.
No,
and
at
so
all.
I think I don't know if she has the power.
But we do
do
hear
that.
that she's completely healed later, and we talk about because the baby blood healed her.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is changing before she had the power to not turn. But
I feel like the baby's gonna be immortal. Like
like a
it's-
new original.
Like I think it's gonna kind of almost be a separate
Like a whole new breed of
creation.
thing.
Yeah. Like not the originals. Like you can't. There's nothing that will stop this baby. Like I don't know. This is. I like where we're going with this. On that note,
The
let's
baby
head
of all
into
babies.
predictions.
Prediction.
Yeah, because we got the originals. What comes next?
The
What
baby
happens-
originals.
What happens when an original mixes with a?
I mean, I felt like that's what we were getting when we heard about the hybrids, and now this is a whole nother level. We're on that next level shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because now it's more werewolf than it is vampire.
Because he's one half.
Yeah, because he's half werewolf and she's full werewolf. So it's more werewolf than it is
Well,
vampire,
it
but he's
depends
an
whether
original.
it's a dominant gene or recessive gene.
Well, I don't know how
because-
this all works. I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting to see. I don't have any serious predictions. I just think Davina, we're going to see more of Davina going towards Team Klaus
Yeah.
with the help of Elijah. I think Elijah's going to play a huge role.
How many episodes before Davina and Klaus actually physically working with each other?
Oh,
But not that. Before Marcel, when do you think Marcel's going to start seeing Klaus's true
I think he'll
colors?
start seeing it pretty soon. I think he'll see. I don't think he'll see that it's Klaus. I think he'll see that Davina is shifting and she's resenting him.
I think that Klaus and Marcel are always gonna have this frenemy thing. I don't think it's ever gonna be full blown like to each other's faces. It's always gonna be behind each other's back, or at least for a few episodes more. And I agree with you about the Davina thing. I think he's gonna be grasping on, but as Davina gets smarter and realizes she really doesn't need Marcel, there's gonna be a problem.
Or Klaus, really. So
She doesn't need anybody.
I mean,
I see the three of them. Honestly, I do. In the future, I see Marcel having to give in to Klaus and play his like right-hand man kind of, and starting a mutiny within the vampires, and Klaus being on top against the witches and Davina. I see Davina going off by herself.
I see Davina going off by herself. I see it turning into the witches and vampires against Davina. Like, I feel like Davina will get this power. She has this incredible power. And
She's like Carrie.
but there has to be that one thing that brings people together. I feel like it can't always be them against the witches because there's so many
or the
times.
baby.
Or the baby. They need the witches. and the witches don't necessarily need the vampires, but they kind of can't.
Here's
Get rid
the
of it.
problem that I foresee. Once we have the baby, if we do get that point and there is a baby, then what? It's a baby.
Is it a baby?
Unless the baby comes out as a full-blown human being, and it's still a baby, like a small object. So do they age it? How do they get into?
Well, how does it age? Because it's a werewolf, which do age, but it's a vampire, which doesn't age.
I think it's almost like
But you can't be born
Twilight.
a vampire.
Like, well, that's what I was saying. Is it
where
like Twilight?
it comes out as a baby but grows
Rapidly grows
really
to
fast.
like a 20-year-old.
yeah.
Just a hot female girl. It's just gonna be this.
That'll be interesting.
And yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. I'm excited for next week.
Me
We want
too.
you guys to
Oh,
let us know
duh.
what you guys think. Make sure you guys follow us at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Hit us up on iTunes by downloading our podcast, The Originals AfterBuzz TV podcast. Subscribe, rate, leave us a comment, and also make sure you guys keep the conversation going with us because clearly we have many questions ourselves. So hit us up on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow me at DJ Jesse J.
You can follow me at Paige Self.
At Roxy Striar.
Till next week, same time, same place. Peace.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.